right. Good morning, everyone. I am coming to you from very snowy Medford, Massachusetts, and it's Saturday morning, and I have some updates for you. I've made a couple of videos while my arm has been in a cast. I broke my wrist on January 31st. And it turned out to be a pretty broken wrist. My radius, which is there are two long bones on in your forearm, and radius is the one that's on the side of the thumb, and it's the thicker of the two bones. The other one is the ulna, by the way. But my radius was pretty fractured. It turned out pretty shattered, and I, at first, before I knew the extent of the damage or really understood it, thought that I would just see what my body would do and just let nature and time take its course. And then I spoke with a friend's father who is an orthopedic surgeon, and he looked at the x rays, and he spent a little more time with me than my original doctor had, who was in and out of the room so quickly I couldn't even think of my questions. And he recommended, without a doubt, that I go the surgery route. And, you know, I was thinking about this recently, how sometimes, even when news isn't necessarily good, when it feels right, when it feels right in my body, and it feels like the right thing to do, there is a lot of ease that comes with that. So once I had spoken with him and gone back to my doctor, who it turned out didn't have time to do the surgery before he left, so another doctor ended up becoming my doctor, which was much better in the end. Um, there was just a way that I felt at peace with it. And as the surgery came up, I found myself, I understood what was going to be done. A little plate was going to be put in, some screws. I asked the doctor whether the hardware and my body tissue and my bones were all going to be able to get along. They've been doing that for decades now, probably since the 80s, with this titanium plate, which is much better than stainless steel. And and he reassured me that it's very, very rare that the titanium plate and screws don't get along with my body, with the body of the person having the surgery. So I just felt really at ease and confident about this decision, which didn't feel like a decision at all. It just felt like the right next thing to do. And of course, because I think about, you know, self awareness and all things related to how we live our lives, kind of in these terms, and of having change come from a place that's not violent and not forced, and that change can feel, even when it's something difficult, that next thing we do might not be something we're used to doing. It can come in a small step, and it can come in a way that feels good to my entire organism and that feels right. So that this surgery felt that way. So I had surgery this Tuesday. Jeffrey, my husband, took me. There was quite a bit of waiting at the hospital, and even then, I felt pretty at ease. He was right there, which was really nice. Which I don't take for granted. I was single for many years of my life, and it was just really nice to notice that he was by my side, and that it was something I could take for granted, even though I didn't. So came out of surgery, and it all went pretty well. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I know that a couple of people that have watched the videos I've made with my broken wrist have asked me to do just to kind of document what it's like living, doing day-to-day things with a cast. So this sort of falls along those lines, and it very much falls into the way that I'm interested in working with my clients' bodies and with my clients' nervous systems. So that said, okay, that said, even before that, let me just say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon. I am a massage therapist. I am a nervous system regulation coach. I am a certified focusing practitioner, which is a way to listen um, to our bodies. Um, but all of that said, I would like to maybe, um, whether or not you have an injury like a broken wrist, maybe you do, maybe you're watching this and you have an injury, but maybe there's something else that's difficult in your life, something else that's injured, something else that's really experiencing. Maybe it was something traumatic or that could have turned into something traumatic, um, which is a way in which I'm thinking about wrist surgery. You know, it was a trauma to the body to be cut, to have an incision made, to have me be unconscious, to have something, a foreign body, put into my body and then put in place and then bound up so that it could heal. And what I've learned about trauma is that what makes the difference in something being experienced as trauma or not is whether we feel alone with it. And by alone, I don't necessarily mean you might have a person around you or people around you, but if you don't feel understood and met exactly as you are, if there isn't like a friendliness toward your situation and a curiosity toward what it's like, then we can feel very lonely with that difficult experience. And that is much more likely to be stored in the body as trauma than when we have company, when we have friendly company with something. So on Tuesday night, when I came back, my husband and my dog came to meet me at the hospital, and the lovely nurse, Carol, wheeled me down um, to the car. And I had, before the surgery, had something put a block, a kind of anesthetic called a block. They call this a block, put um, injected into my shoulder, and it rendered my whole shoulder and arm completely um, numb to me. So that night when I was conscious, um, and coming home, this arm, I had no volition over it. So if I needed to move it, I had to literally pick it up and put it somewhere else. And they warned me that it was actually, I needed to be very careful because if I came in contact with something hot or something sharp, I would not feel a thing. So this arm, I had this arm to carry around. It was in a sling, but to get ready to go to bed, I had to take it out of the sling, and I realized that if I had had it like this on the side of the bed, it would have gone in the opposite direction, just on its own. So I really needed to prop it, and I needed to really take care of it in a way that would allow it to stay upright that night. Um, so, what I ended up doing was, and this might be helpful to a couple of you who are watching this, who one of you I know is having wrist surgery soon, but Jeffrey helped me put this rolled up uh, blanket around it, and you can still see where the tape is. I can't really get it there on my own here, but you'll get the idea. You could also do this with a very flat pillow and just wrap it around, like from the elbow up, um, and then tape it. And what it did was it just put a really thick layer of padding around it. And then I put some pillows around my elbow. I ended up sleeping on the couch just because I had the wall of the back of the couch to prop my arm on this side, and then other pillows. I made myself so comfortable, and Jeffrey made me so comfortable as well. And I was able um, eventually to fall asleep. The other part that I wanted to specifically talk about, which I've touched on already, in relation to what what gets stored for us as trauma? Um, so as I was falling asleep and I could not feel my arm, and I had the sensation, even though it wasn't actually true, it wasn't in reality true that my arm was cold. It felt very cold to me. And when I went to feel my hand, which I couldn't register the sensations on my broken wrist hand, um, but I could feel with my other hand that the fingers were actually pretty warm, but they felt cold to me. And as I was lying there, and I couldn't fall asleep right away, but I was pretty calm, and I just brought this kind of friendly contact to my um, to my arm that was in the cast with a padding all around it, and to my fingers, which didn't have any way other than through my consciousness of communicating, of me knowing that they were feeling what I was offering. But because of my conscious connection with all of this and with my hand that could feel my fingers, I just spent some time just as I fell asleep, just touching those fingers and just offering acknowledgement to my wrist, to my arm, to how hard all of this was working, um, to having received, to having been, opened and having received something that ultimately will help very much. But there was a lot of pain response happening, a lot of swelling. Um, and I just spoke to it. I was with it in just a friendly way and just kind of reassuring. I love hearing, and I assume that my fingers would like to hear that I was right there. I'm right here. I'm just saying that in a friendly way. And I was able to fall asleep. And I did take a pain medicine, um, and I still had the block. And the next day, the block ended up wearing off pretty early in the day, and I started getting sensation back and a good bit of pain. That was actually the most painful day. It was the day right after, and the evening right after in particular. Um, just a lot of pain, but still this sense that everything was okay. And I think I just have the sense that it really has to do with a friendliness toward what was happening and a sense of understanding why it was happening, a sense of agency around it, a sense of support around it, and getting to practice all those ways in which I work with my clients' bodies when they're in pain, getting to practice that on myself in a moment of like pretty extreme discomfort and pain was um, really interesting actually to me and really helpful. Um, I think that adding the ingredient of friendly curiosity to whatever is going on, no matter how difficult it is, really helps me, helps my clients move through something in a way that makes change the next and best thing uh, that can happen be much more possible. It's like we're getting out of our own way so that our organism, our bodies, our wisdom, the communication between our bodies and our minds, our thoughts, our emotions, it's like all clear and all of it is working together. So I just wanted to offer that. I know this seems kind of maybe like a subtle thing and not so much about the physical healing of my wrist, but it feels very much like it's helping the physical healing of my wrist. And I also just want to reassure you that if you're not like a positive thinker kind of person. And I have to tell you that I kind of have an allergy also to like just think positive or um, like even affirmations can often to me feel like a band-aid over something that's actually there to be met with friendliness or understanding. And maybe a part of us is afraid to meet what's there. And so we just kind of say, put something that sounds positive on top. So this isn't at all that. This is taking like a measure of the whole thing and being with it exactly the way it is and getting to see how things change. How my little sausage fingers there, they're still really swollen. Um, how they just are so available to me right now, and appreciating how they're moving, and even appreciating the swelling. It's still pretty swollen here, and my fingers are swollen. Even appreciating the swelling as my body's like very natural splinting mechanism. Like when our bodies swell, they are just slowing down the cellular activity to an area. It's like it's like when there's a traffic accident and the emergency vehicles come and they block off all the other traffic just to let essential personnel get through. That's kind of what's happening when there's swelling. It's like, we need everything, all the resources we can have, and we need all the support we can get right now. And I am just super, super grateful for all the things I've learned over the years from my clients' bodies, from my focusing and meditation practices, and from what I am just more and more learning about nervous systems and how most of the communication up to our brains and our minds about how our body is doing, how we're feeling, our emotions, our mental health, everything is 80% of that communication is from the body up to the mind. So, being this in such a body oriented way, I just am feeling such helpful results from that. The only thing missing here in me talking to you is I wish that I could interact with you as I'm right here. I am gonna just real quick check in, um, see if anyone has asked a question in the Facebook group. No, I'm not seeing it. Oh, no, I'm just hearing myself. Okay, I muted that. But I also just wanted to show you my doctor was kind enough to oh, it's very hard to do things one-handed. There we go. Oh my goodness. All right. So there's the x-ray of the, I thought it was going to be like a little plate. I was imagining like a little rectangle, so it does look bigger than that. It looks a little Blade Runner, but yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and very grateful for science. Super grateful for science and for surgeons, and for all of this body work and body listening experience that I have that I'm getting to put into practice. And maybe it'll help you in some way with whatever is difficult for you, even if it's not surgery. Maybe it's a situation, maybe it's a broken heart, maybe it's a relationship that feels tricky, difficult. I'm just going to invite you to bring some friendly noticing to it. We can notice in very harsh and judgy ways, and the key difference is friendliness and kindness. So, my friends, thank you for watching, and I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye bye.